Attention! This is not material for passive consumption. It is designed to be heard with maximum concentration. The following revelations are direct, potentially disturbing, and may challenge your perceptions. Due to the sensitive nature of the content, its availability may be limited. Your experience on this topic is valuable. Leave it in the comments.
The truth is a bitter pill to swallow. But what does that really mean? It means the truth doesn't arrive like a remedy, a balm to soothe your wounds. No. It arrives like a diagnosis, the name of the disease, written in cold clinical letters on a clipboard while the world you knew dissolves into a low, feverish hum. The truth is the label on the poison bottle, the danger sign on a bridge you've already crossed. And tonight, we're taking our dose. Because ignorance might be bliss, but in this world of smoke and mirrors, it's a luxury you can't afford. People like to think of monsters as creatures of lore, beasts that lurk in the darkness, in the forgotten corners of the world. They feel safe in their well-lit homes, locking their doors to keep the night outside. The fatal mistake is thinking the monster needs to break the door down. Sometimes he's already inside. He has a key. He's had dinner with you, laughed at your jokes, maybe even told you he loved you. The real horror isn't the unknown out there. It's the unknown you thought you knew. The void wearing a familiar face as a mask. Every story has a beginning. This one starts not with a bang, but with a whisper of something wrong. It's a note played out of key in a familiar melody, a hairline crack in a porcelain vase. You dismiss it at first. It's easier. You chalk it up to stress, a bad day, your own overactive imagination. But the whisper persists, a low, steady hum beneath the surface of normalcy. It's the feeling that the eyes watching you aren't truly seeing you, but reading you, scanning, calculating. Individuals high in psychopathic traits are masters of camouflage. They are social chameleons, mirroring back to you the person you want to see. They study human emotion the way a scholar studies an ancient text, with intellectual curiosity, but without any personal connection. They learn the words, the gestures, the inflections. They can construct a facade of normalcy so convincing, so utterly charming, that to doubt it feels like a form of madness. This is the mask of sanity that psychiatrist Hervey Cleckley wrote about decades ago, a perfectly rendered but entirely hollow imitation of a functioning human being. That's why the first signs are rarely a fire alarm. They're more like the faint smell of smoke you dismiss until the flames are licking at the walls. The pieces were on the board. Now it was time to watch them move. But what does that really mean? It means the game has been afoot long before you ever knew you were playing. And the first move was a lie. But what does that really mean? It means the very foundation of your reality was built on sand. Many believe psychopaths are only found in prisons or thrillers. But traits associated with psychopathy are present in everyday life, often hidden in plain sight. This video uncovers 3 critical early signs you might be overlooking, providing essential knowledge to help you identify potential risks in your own proximity. The first sign is a pervasive, almost casual relationship with dishonesty. We call it pathological lying, but that sounds too clinical. Think of it as breathing lies instead of air. It's not just about big self-serving deceptions. It's the small ones, the pointless ones. They'll tell you they had a bagel for breakfast when they had toast. They'll invent a dramatic story about their commute involving a near-miss accident that never happened. The lies are constant, a stream of static that obscures the truth. Why? Because the truth is a fixed point, a thing they cannot control. A lie is a creation. It's a pocket universe where they are the god, and with each lie they tell, they test your reality, your perception. It's an act of contempt. Every pointless lie they get away with is a silent confirmation of their superiority and your gullibility. They are building a narrative, a grand fictional version of themselves, and they need you to believe in it. When you catch them in a contradiction, the reaction is the real tell. There is no shame, no embarrassment. A normal person, caught in a lie, shows signs of stress. A flushed face, a stammer, avoidance of eye contact. The psychopath does not. They will either deny the undeniable with a flat, unwavering gaze, or they will seamlessly weave another, more elaborate lie to cover the first. Or most insidiously, they will turn it on you. You must have misheard me. You're always twisting my words. Why are you so obsessed with this? Suddenly you are the one on trial, your memory and sanity called into question. This is a form of gaslighting, a slow, corrosive drip of poison designed to make you doubt your own mind. It's a game of smoke and mirrors, and they are the master illusionists. The second sign is more subtle and far more chilling. It's a profound deficit in emotional resonance. Think of it as a hollow echo where a feeling should be. They have learned through a lifetime of observation what emotions look like from the outside. They know the proper facial expression for sadness, the correct words of comfort for a grieving friend, the right tone of voice for excitement. They can perform these emotions flawlessly, like a classically trained actor hitting their marks. But it's a performance. There's nothing behind the curtain. You'll see it in moments of genuine human connection. You share a story of a deep personal failure, and they'll offer a perfectly scripted response of sympathy, but their eyes are blank, distant. You share a moment of pure joy, and their smile doesn't quite reach their eyes. It's a mask, expertly worn, but a mask nonetheless. This is most apparent in what we call the pity play. They are masters at eliciting sympathy. They will construct elaborate sob stories about their tragic past, their unfair treatment by the world, their litany of woes. These stories are designed to disarm you, to make you see them as a victim, to trigger your natural human impulse to nurture and protect. But watch closely. The emotion they display is often theatrical, over the top, and strangely disconnected from the details of the story. They might shed a single perfect tear, while their body language remains relaxed and composed. It's a tool, a lever to manipulate your empathy. Empathy to them is not a shared experience. It's a weakness in others to be exploited. They see your compassion not as a virtue, but as a vulnerability, a door left unlocked. The detectives used the false friend technique here, building rapport only to betray it. Have you ever seen this kind of manipulation in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The third sign is a pattern of casual cruelty and boundary testing. This is the predator probing the fences, checking for weaknesses. It rarely starts with physical violence. It starts with words. A joke that isn't funny, a backhanded compliment that leaves a bitter aftertaste, a piece of searingly personal criticism disguised as brutal honesty. These are not slips of the tongue. They are carefully calibrated weapons. They are watching your reaction. If you laugh it off, you've told them their cruelty is acceptable. If you object, you're too sensitive or can't take a joke. They are systematically desensitizing you, pushing your boundaries back inch by inch until you no longer know where they are. This extends to actions. They might accidentally break a cherished possession. They might forget an important promise. They might flirt outrageously with someone else in front of you, only to later claim you're being paranoid. Each of these acts is a small violation, a test of your resolve. They are looking for the path of least resistance. They want to know how much you will tolerate. This is how they groom their victims, slowly eroding their self-esteem and their trust in their own judgment. It's a slow-motion demolition of the soul, and they take a cold, calculating pleasure in the process. It's the thrill of control, the quiet satisfaction of seeing another human being bend to their will. This was the moment, the point of no return. The instant the mask doesn't just slip. But what does that really mean? It means the carefully constructed illusion evaporates in a flash of cold, hard reality. It shatters. But what does that really mean? It means, for one, terrifying second, you see what's really there. The charm melts away, the witty comebacks cease, the victim act dissolves, and you are staring into a void. It's an abyss of cold, predatory indifference. There is nothing there. No empathy, no remorse, no soul. Just a chilling, reptilian stillness. It's the moment all the little lies, the weird emotional disconnects, the casual cruelties, snap into focus. They cease to be isolated incidents and become a clear, horrifying pattern. It's the moment you realize you weren't in a relationship with a person. You were in a cage with a predator. And the most terrifying part? The look in their eyes. It's not anger, it's not hatred, it's annoyance. The annoyance of a scientist whose experiment has been contaminated. The annoyance of a puppeteer whose strings have been cut. You are no longer a person to them. You are a broken toy. And in that moment you understand that you were never truly seen, never truly known, never truly cared for. You were a resource, a source of entertainment, money, or status, a mirror to reflect their own grandiose image back at them. And now that you have seen the truth, you are useless. Or worse, you are a threat. After the storm, there's the quiet, the devastating calm of consequence. But what does that really mean? It means the chaos of the relationship is over, but the war inside your own head has just begun. You are left in the wreckage, sifting through the debris of your own life, trying to separate what was real from what was a performance. Every memory is tainted. Every shared laugh, every moment of perceived intimacy, every whispered promise is now suspect. You question your own judgment, your own intuition. How could I have been so blind? How could I have missed this? The self-doubt is a prison of its own. You feel a profound sense of isolation, because how can you explain this to someone who hasn't lived it? How do you describe the void behind a charming smile? Friends and family might mean well, but they don't understand the psychological warfare you've endured. Just move on, they say. Forget about them. But it's not that simple. It's like trying to forget a plane crash you survived. You are left with a kind of psychological PTSD, a hypervigilance that makes it hard to trust anyone again, including yourself. The world feels like a more dangerous place, because you now know that monsters are real, and they don't always have fangs and claws. Sometimes they have the face of someone you loved. This pathological behavior is a classic example of the dark triad. To understand the other components, watch our deep dive into another case, linked in the description. In the end, it wasn't complicated. But what does that really mean? It means we try to dress it up in complex psychological terms, in diagnostic criteria, and academic theories. But when you strip it all away, it's the oldest story in the book. It's the story of the spider and the fly, the fox and the hen. It's the story of a predator and its prey. It's just another soul lost to the darkness that waits inside us all. But what does that really mean? It means that the capacity for this kind of emptiness, this cold, predatory calculus, is a part of the human condition. It's a ghost in our machine. For most of us, it remains a ghost, silenced by empathy, by conscience, by the simple, fragile threads of human connection that bind us together. But for some, the ghost is the one at the controls. They are not broken people. They are different people. They are operating on a different moral and emotional software. And to pretend otherwise, to believe you can fix them or save them, is to walk willingly into the spider's web. The only lesson to be learned here is one of vigilance. It's not about living in fear, but living with your eyes open. It's about learning to trust that nagging feeling in your gut, that quiet whisper of something wrong. It's about understanding that some people are not playing the same game as you, and their only rule is to win. We dissect the shadows of the human mind every week to bring the truth into the light. Subscribe and hit the bell to make sure you don't miss the next case.